Rotary's positive influence on the world is something we're all very proud of. From medical missions to disaster relief to combating climate change, Rotary plays a role in a vast array of initiatives that help humanity. It is inspiring to reflect on the sustainable outcomes that have grown out of so many of the Rotary projects we're aware of. I'm equally impressed and inspired when I see an individual member's incredible commitment to a cause that fires up their passion. Is it any wonder that in the marketing policies outlined on the Rotary International Brand Centre, we hear Rotarians described as people of influence, as well as people of purpose and people of action? Today, we'll take a deep dive into that expression, people of influence, and look beyond the hashtag to see some of the ways that Rotary clubs and districts are inspiring and encouraging their colleagues and the wider public. This is my third year serving on PDG Sarita's Zone Public Image team. And as you're probably well aware, I love that she encourages us to learn more about branding and marketing in these monthly Zoom get-togethers. Just like you, I'm keen to get going, but first I'd like to introduce you to the people behind the scenes, as well as to our exciting speakers who will be exploring the focus for today, people of influence. Some of you patronised the presentation on video that this production team did at the Melbourne Convention recently, so you may recognise this photo. You've just met past District Governor Sarita, our leader, who has allowed me to really express myself through my role as Assistant Public Image Coordinator. Now I'd like to thank our cinematographer and editor, Adam, a friend of Rotary, and Ben, President of the Rotary Club of Casey in District 9820. It was in District 9820 that I first met past District Governor Jennifer Scott, who is actually a member of the Rotary Club of Central Blue Mountains in District 9685. There is a great deal I could tell you about past District Governor Jennifer Scott AM and how inspiring she is as a Rotary leader. But I'm sure she'll forgive me if I say the essential message for this moment is that she is the convener of the Rotary International Convention in 2024 in Singapore. So do plan to come along to that and see and hear her in person. For now, get yourself comfortable and pay attention as she introduces the reason we're meeting today.
Hello, Rotary friends. I've been asked to talk to you about people of influence. Now, it was about 3 or 4 years ago when I was talking with our Rotary International President, Jennifer Jones, and she said, "Who are we?" And she said, "We are people of influence, people of action, and people of purpose." Now, when you think about it, what is a person of influence? Or we call it an influencer. You see that term on social media all the time now. But why us? How are Rotarians people of influence? Well, it's because we make things happen. To make things happen means people listen to us. So one of the first people of influences I know was Sir Clem Renouf. When he was president of Rotary International, and he heard and saw in the Philippines that they were eradicating polio in the Philippines, and he said, well, if they can do it in the Philippines, we could do it around the world. And he spoke internationally to organisations who didn't actually believe to begin with, and he said, well, we will show you we can do it. So what an influencer he was when he got not only the world behind, but because we were believed and because we are people of action, we got people like Bill and Melinda Gates behind us. We have now got Global Citizen behind us working because we influence what happens in the world. Let's look at malaria. When the government say, well, We will support you and fund you and partner with you, Rotarians, is because they trust us. Because when we talk about it, people listen, and when we do it, people see the results. So we are influencers. But to be an influencer, you've got to start talking about it. And your message has to be not just who we are, but what we do and what we have achieved. So you have to tell your story and keep on telling it and telling it and telling it in pictures, telling it from the heart, who we are, what we do, and the difference we are making in the community, nationally in our countries, but also globally. Look at Turkey. Here we are on the front page, Rotarians working. Even a Rotarian who lost 41 members of his own family turned around and looked at what was needed and took action. The world sees what we do. We are influencing how to build peace in the world. We are influencing how to clean up and care for our environment in the world. We are influencing how to look at water, sanitation, protection of children, education of girls. So, Rotarians, you can and we need you to be an influencer. So, people of influence, people of purpose, and let's be people of action.
Thank you, Past District Governor Jennifer. What an honour to have had you present to us. Jennifer reminds us that to be influencers, we need to keep telling our stories, speaking from the heart and painting pictures. Our next guest is a man who has been doing just that professionally for more than 50 years. He is one of Australia's most eminent foreign correspondents and has dedicated his life to building peace by documenting wars on the front line. David Brill, AMACS, was born in Tasmania, and in his retirement he has come back to make Tasmania his home again. David is one of 3 outstanding cinematographers to come out of Tasmania. Neil Davis, Damien Pera, and David Brill are famous throughout the world for bringing the reality of war into people's living rooms. David has served in every conflict zone in the world since the 60s. And it is my honour now to ask him to address us about getting our message out there using cinematography to expand our reach as volunteers.
My name is David Brill. I've been a foreign correspondent for well over 50 years, doing a lot of humanitarian work around the world, doing stories on great aid organisations like Rotary, who really relies on a lot of volunteers to get the message out to what they do. Rotary internationally is a wonderful organisation. The image is just so important. Over the last 50 years, I've filmed and made documentaries on unsung heroes for aid agencies like Care Australia, Oxfam, etc. And I cannot overemphasise how powerful of good images are to get the message across of what's going on and how important some of these organisations like Rotary, the work they do, and explain it to the people is just so important. The power of the image started with me during the Tasmanian bushfires in 1967, which were just huge fires in the southern part of Tasmania. I was set out to film these bushfires, and I was very young and naive, and I didn't realise at the time how powerful this footage would be. I felt guilty filming people's homes burning down. Sometimes I'd put the camera down, go inside, drag out paintings and books just to make myself feel better. But when that film went all around the world through Reuters television and brought aid and expertise into Tasmania, it hit me like a ton of bricks how powerful good images, good journalism, good filmmaking can be. And that has stuck with me all my life. So a lot of the work that I've done has been humanitarian work to show people around the world, particularly in Australia, what's going on. And now and then you can make a difference. And this is the important thing about organisations like Rotary. If they have their own films and show the people what Rotary is doing, they can relate. And you've got to spend a bit to make a bit. And I proved that with organisations like Oxfam. They had a budget, they had a publicity department where we'd go around the world and do films in Africa, for instance. And it helped to bring what was going on in these countries to the Australian public, and they'd give more money because they could see their money going into worthwhile causes. A few years ago, I was in Sudan, in Africa, doing some filming work for Care Australia. This is volunteer work I do. I didn't get paid for this work. I did it because I really did care. We landed on this strip in the middle of the desert, somewhere in the Sudan, in this light aeroplane, where all these people were living in this sort of makeshift refugee camp. And in the middle of all this, there's this Australian nurse there called Eva Doherty from Queensland. And she was helping these people. She was like Mother Teresa. It was an amazing sight to see, of all places, this Australian woman. There was a family living in their little tent, which we went and had a chat with this mother, with her 3 children, and she had a big abscess on her face. And she couldn't spare the time, or it would take 3 or 4 days for her to walk to the nearest medical centre to get help. And I said to Eva, what can we do? What can we do to help this lady? Because the pain she was in. And she turned to me and said, David, I haven't even got an aspirin to give her.
Habib Kulamafi? Habib Mafi? And if I had an aspirin, I could give it to her, but I don't think I've got anything at the moment.
Thousands, hundreds of thousands of aspirins were offered to be sent across to Care Australia to give to these people. That's, again, the power of good storytelling and to get the message out. After the first Gulf War had finished, I went back to Iraq to see what was left, what was going on after the bombing. I went to this hospital, interviewed this doctor, who explained to me what was happening with the patients because of the lack of medical supplies. They were even closing wards down because they couldn't maintain the beds. And he was telling me about a mother with a couple of children, because they had bad nutrition, that he had nothing to give them.
Because there is no food, and the food it is too much expensive, and if it is present, it might be in bad quality.
So what can you do for this child?
What we are doing, nothing is present. This is the sanction.
And so, he said, they could die. Well, that just showed what Care Australia were doing, for an example, trying to help these people by bringing in rice and various other commodities to get the message out. That report on the 7:30 program really did help and explain again what Care Australia is doing in the same way to explain what Rotary is doing. I can't overemphasise, after being in this media business for over 50 years, doing quality work, humanitarian work, which I believe is so important, of the work that Rotary is doing. It's so important to get the message out, to show people what goes on behind the scenes of all these wonderful people all over the world, here in Tasmania particularly, where I am, of the work that Rotary does. You've got to spend a bit to make a bit.
We hear you, David. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and encouraging us to invest in professional support for telling our Rotary stories through video. I'm sure many of the viewers today will look you up on YouTube and Google after this session and see some of your excellent storytelling for themselves. And now, another Tasmanian who I don't think would mind if I called him too a friend of Rotary. Rodney Croom is another influencer. Rodney is well known for his persuasive writing, for standing up for what he believes in, and for taking action and inspiring others to take action. I've invited Rodney to speak to us now about what he's done in his life, because his is a truly inspirational story to share as we begin our year creating hope in the world.
My name's Rodney Croom. I've been an advocate for lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender people for over 3 decades in Tasmania and also nationally and internationally. I was involved in the campaign to decriminalise homosexuality in Tasmania and also in the campaign for marriage equality nationally. You might remember me from the television show Almost Australian, hosted by Miriam Margolyes, the English actor. In that television show, I showed Miriam around Ulverston to places where there had been terrible anti-gay rallies in the past, and then talked to her about how much Tasmania had changed since then, going from the place with the worst laws on LGBTIQA+ rights to the place in Australia with the best laws. And of course that's something that I and many Tasmanians are proud of. People sometimes ask me, as a person of influence who wants to make positive change, what's your advice to others? And my advice is pretty simple. I say to others, always knock on those doors that are closed. There are some doors that are ajar, you can easily walk through, but if you want to make real change, then it's those doors that are locked and barred that you really need to be pushing against. I say to them that it's really important to find new ways around old barriers, because if you find obstacles that it's hard to get through, almost always there will be another way forward. And it's important to think through exactly what that way will be and to talk to others to try and find new perspectives on the paths you can take to reach your goals. Another really important piece of advice I give is reach out to those people who aren't yet on your side. It's easy to persuade people who are already with you, and it's easy to think that those who aren't will be intractably against. That's not the case. I find that most people have goodwill, they want to do the right thing, and if you reach out to them in a way that can persuade them, then more often than not, they will come over to the cause or to the idea that you are so passionate about. And the way to reach out to other people is through personal stories. Either your own story or the stories of others who are directly impacted by the issue that you're passionate about. Personal stories are really the way to persuade others to get on your side and to move change forward. I can't emphasise enough the power of personal stories. So I guess in summary, when it comes to trying to influence people to make positive change, my advice is to take risks, be bold, but also be vulnerable. To give an example of what I mean about being bold and also vulnerable, I think of a time back in the 1990s when we were campaigning to decriminalise homosexuality. Tasmania was the last state to retain those old criminal laws, and we decided to turn ourselves into police with statutory declarations outlining our illegal activity. It was an incredibly risky thing to do, very difficult, because we were walking right into the lion's den and we were making ourselves very vulnerable by handing over to the police details of our private lives. But as it happened, that action was very compelling and very important to our campaign, because in the end the police decided not to prosecute us. And across Tasmania people began to ask, what's the point of this stupid old law, a law that's wrecked our reputation nationally and internationally, when the police aren't even willing to enforce it? That was a turning point in that debate. But by my goodness, it was a difficult thing for us to do. And often the most difficult things to do are the most important. As someone who grew up in northwestern Tasmania, I've been aware of the good work of Rotary clubs my whole life. When I was a child, I was aware of Rotary students, international exchange students. I was aware of Rotary fundraising. But when I came out as a gay man and began to be involved in my community, I realised that there was actually a big gap between the Rotary community and the LGBTIQA+ community. I knew no LGBTIQA plus people in Rotary, and Rotary clubs that I had anything to do with weren't really aware about our community, and certainly weren't aware that there was this gap or this lack of understanding between the two communities. In the last year or two, I have been speaking to a number of Rotary clubs in Tasmania to try and find ways to bridge that gap, to try and find ways for Rotary clubs to be more inclusive of LGBTIQA plus people, and to encourage LGBTIQA plus people who are a natural fit for Rotary to join those clubs. And also for Rotary to look at LGBTIQA plus community fundraising projects that they may be interested in being involved in. I found it really enjoyable speaking to Rotary clubs across Tasmania. I've spoken to clubs in Devonport, in Launceston, in Hobart, and I've found so many people of goodwill, people who are really keen to be involved in the community, who are really concerned about continuing discrimination or prejudice in the community, and who want to see that come to an end. And so, in turn, I'm keen to make sure that as many LGBTIQA plus people who are a natural fit for Rotary join Rotary clubs, and that those clubs are as inclusive as possible. One of the things I find when I speak to Rotary clubs, even though there's a lot of goodwill and a lot of desire to engage LGBTIQA plus people, there's a fear of mucking up. There's a fear of not saying the acronym correctly. And I mean, for goodness sake, whoever does. It's a long one and it gets longer every day. There's no need to worry about engaging with the LGBTIQA plus community. There are really good resources available for Rotary clubs when it comes to LGBTIQA plus inclusion. There's a fellowship, an LGBT fellowship in Rotary in Australia, and they've produced some really great materials to help Rotary clubs not only be inclusive, but to project that inclusiveness, to show the world that they're inclusive, to attract more LGBTIQA plus members, and to reach out to our community to show that the Rotary Club or the Rotary Fellowship is there for us. What we share is so much more important than the things that divide us. Thanks for listening to my story. I hope you've gained something from it, and I really hope to see a close relationship in the future between the Rotary Fellowship and the LGBTIQA plus community. We have much to learn from each other. Thank you.
Thanks from the bottom of my heart to Rodney for caring to help us build up Rotary by making it a proudly diverse and inclusive organisation. Okay, you've heard from 3 unforgettable leaders. We've heard their message. We even believe we can influence others to create lasting change. But what do we actually do? What are some simple ways that Rotarians can get on with the job and build up pathways to take action themselves and to encourage others to be people of action and people of influence? Some of you may know that I didn't always specialise in public image. I actually learned about Rotary branding and marketing while I was serving as District Secretary some years ago. Our next speaker is the Rotary leader who elevated my interest in Rotary branding and marketing and who set the standard that I've tried to follow as a district and zone leader since then. May I introduce you to my former boss, past District Governor Ross Carlile.
Hello, I'm past District Governor Ross Carlile from District 9830. I came to the role of District Governor in 2018-19 from a business and marketing background where success in part comes from recognising and acknowledging the best resources you have, your people. From a marketing perspective, I feel it is important to state your purpose and how your actions align with it, what we are doing and why we are doing it. From a work perspective, it's important for you or for your team, to be well resourced so they have all the tools to achieve their goals and enjoy their work and they feel that they are contributing to ongoing success. This all leads me to apply my business instincts to Rotary when I was in a position to influence change. So for my year as District Governor, I researched, developed and introduced 3 three-word slogans. The first slogan was the 3 tenets, being welcome, respected and valued. Why welcome, respected and valued? I came across some independent research done by a university where Rotarians were asked why they left Rotary. It was an uncomfortable read. On reflection, I concluded there were three main reasons why 50% of new members leave within 2 years of joining Rotary. They did not feel welcome in their club, felt they were not respected, and that their contribution was not valued. No wonder we have a retention problem. By living the three tenets, where all members are welcome, respected and valued, one provides a pathway to developing a strong cultural identity for clubs and the district. It's pleasing to see that the three tenets have been adopted and carried forward. The second slogan was fun, fellowship and fulfilment, which is an attempt to describe what members should expect to receive from Rotary in return for their giving in service to others. The third slogan was consistency, clarity and compliance, which really is all about support for our brand and the promotion of it. Rotary's brand changed from the blue and yellow wheel to the master brand over 10 years ago, and yet some clubs persist in using the old wheel. In 2018-19, my leadership team put a huge effort into getting clubs on board using the then 5-year-old master brand and mark of excellence. Clubs do great things, but are generally poor at communicating to our communities what great things we do. We continue to use a mishmash of messages in our communications and marketing efforts. For our marketing to have maximum influence, we must get the brand right. Brand is absolutely essential in modern marketing, and if we don't know and use the brand correctly, then how can we leverage its power? Look at the obvious successes in Coke and Macca's. Consistency in brand which leverages customer awareness, loyalty, and in their cases, profits. The Brand Centre in my Rotary gives Rotarians all the tools and resources needed so your communications, either clothing, written, verbal, all of those, can be consistent, clear and compliant. This will amplify our presence and respect in our communities. Regarding media, we drew a line in the sand. If it's not compliant, I can't publish it. Today, this focus continues thanks to the unflinching efforts of my past District Secretary, Rosalind Tierney. Success comes from a series of small steps. First, know what you want to achieve, state your expectations. President-elect training seminar and District Training Assembly covered those aspects, so people are clear on expected outcomes. Then plan, organise, enrol, support, provide tools and resources, and execute. Clearly, be open to feedback and be prepared to adapt while staying on course. Thank you.
Our next presenter, Andrew Johnson, is a motivated person who, as a new member, did exactly what Rotary wants new members to do. He brought his professional skills into the club, he got to know Rotary from his fellow members, but also he was keen to check out the Brand Centre, the Learning Centre, Facebook groups and every other resource he could find on his own before I happened to meet him online asking about Rotary marketing. Rotarians, I'd like you to hear from Andrew Johnson, who's one of the District 9830 brand champions.
Hi, welcome. Andrew Johnson's my name, Public Image Chair with the Devonport South East Rotary Club in Northern Tasmania. In the last 6 months, I've been promoting public image for my club, taking that on board in December 2022. At that time, I'd been with the club approximately 15 months, and I put to the board the proposition about promoting our image more than we had been. Facebook posts at that time had mostly been for barbecues, and I thought there was more we could do to highlight the club's achievements than promote barbecues coming up. So taking that on board, in the 6 months to date, there's been an increase of about 30% in our followers on Facebook. I found some of the challenges that I've faced have been an idea that some people find social media maybe disconcerting when it comes to the Rotary Club and may have a negative impact, in fact, on the club, and therefore Rotary shouldn't be involved. A presentation by my wife and I to the club, though, highlighted the importance of social media to the general community and how much it was used by people of all ages. including members of the Rotary Club that have been there a number of years, many years. In that time, a couple of updates on our posts and how we're being received, and most of the members are now satisfied with the progress we've made on social media. The next step is to put in a website. There's a lot of people in the community that don't use social media, and that will encourage them to participate and keep track of our activities as well. Recently we opened the Torquay Heritage Trail in East Devonport, and that was received by about 12,500 people via the council's Facebook page, of which about 1,800 actually looked at the post, and therefore the exposure the club's received through that Facebook media has been excellent. Promoting our club and promoting the public image of our club allows us to tell the community more about our activities, how we've been supporting them both in the community and what we've done in the past. I thank you for the opportunity to take part in this video. Please, everyone, get involved in public image and promoting Rotary. You're doing good for the world, and you're doing good for your local community as well. They can see you out there maintaining the walking tracks, maintaining trails, and also providing good in the community.
Thank you, Andrew. The three stories you've just heard were all about change. Rodney's story about changing the law by taking action as a citizen, Ross's story about leading change as a district governor, and Andrew's story about taking action as a new member who could see that his club would be more vibrant if they took on board Rotary's branding and marketing guidelines. Now we're going to move on to 4 other clubs and meet the leaders stepping down from those clubs after having had wonderful years. First of all, I'd like to introduce you to 2 presidents using social media effectively. First, here is Matthew Drake, who's been the president of one of the oldest clubs in District 9830. Then, after Matt, you'll hear from Marnie Hill, who also has a lot of skill in social media marketing.
Rotary public image is a very important aspect of growing any club's influence in community. It's the way we connect with community and grow the knowledge and information about what a club does. Rotarians are very good at doing things and doing projects, but sometimes we need help in allowing the community to understand what we do and why we do it. We've really embraced the tools that we now have at our disposal by using our Facebook programs through Facebook Live, by using the ticketing booking system for our art show, our science and engineering challenge, and our sale day challenges. And this has streamlined the process and allowed us to get a better idea of who's applying, what they're applying, and what the funds are being raised for. Our public image exposure has also helped support other local clubs, such as the Hobart Football Club, in growing their team and helping them understand the importance of connecting with a younger audience and a younger generation that can become future members of our club and future contributors to our community. Our Rotary clubs really rely on growth and support of community to grow and support our clubs going into the future. We have a number of challenges ahead for our clubs with our 100-year anniversary coming up, and it's important to tell our story, connect with the history of our story, and reinvigorate the reasons why it's important to be part of Rotary. So thank you for coming along and attending today, and it's certainly an avenue that's worth exploring, and our public image is paramount to the life of Rotary.
Hi, I'm Marnie and I'm a member of the Rotary Club of North Hobart. My background is real estate, so I have a fairly strong understanding of what it takes to include and incorporate marketing. So in relation to social media presence, one thing that Rotarians can do more is establish their branding. One way we can do that is through establishing profile across different platforms. So there's platforms you may have heard of like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the more that we expose ourselves within these platforms, the more our reach is. Sharing Rotary stories is one way that we can connect with the broader community. So if it's a video, a photo, any kind of content at all that's going to capture people's attention, then it's going to be effectual. So something could be as simple as you're going to a conference and you see an echidna and you decide to record that. It's just a happy, feel-good moment. It doesn't always have to be about our initiatives. It doesn't always have to be about us working behind the scenes. It's just something that's going to capture the imagination of our community. So hashtags can also be an effective way to connect and reach people. We can have anything that's related to Rotary. So Rotary International, people of influence, service above self, just anything that is aligned with the philosophies of Rotary. By engaging our audience, we increase our reach. We can ask people to share their thoughts about Rotary and their experiences and feelings. If they have a question or they reach out to us, it's really important that we're prompt in responding to them. Something else worth considering is reaching out to other organisations to help promote and share our mission and our stories. So when they are reaching out to their people, then they're also sharing our story, which is widening our reach. Part of Rotary policy is also to encourage paid advertising where possible. This just helps expand our reach. So a little bit of fun when reaching out to your audience is the use of emojis. They're able to convey emotion more readily than what just the spoken word can do. Studies show that people are more engaged when they see emojis. It creates a bit of fun, a bit of personality, and it creates a bit of a human element to your message.
I hope you enjoyed hearing from Matthew and Marnie. Our next presenters will provide powerful examples of Rotary clubs which have the ability to influence their communities by building trust through consistent service projects. First of all, let's hear from Tony Reid, who is telling the story of the Rotary Club of Devonport's signature project. Then, after Tony, you'll meet Ryan Jones from the Rotary Club of Sorell. Take it away, Tony.
I guess I'm here to tell you what we do with our signature event for the year, and that's the Halliwell Property Agents and Anderson Heat Pump Teddy Bear Fly-In and Kite Festival. We promote and sponsor this event through our club and have done now for, well over 20 years now. We started as just a kite festival, and then the club got together and decided that we could raise more money by actually putting some teddy bears up in the air and sending them down in a parachute. And of course we get people to buy the teddy bears and promote their business as well. On average we probably have around 400 teddy bears that drop to the ground from a helicopter that is supplied by another one of our sponsors, Tas Helicopters. We do a lot of work promoting the event through social media. It's important that social media is involved, and I guess you get them involved out in the community. So far to date, we only registered the event for next year today, and we've already got 4 or 5 coming next year, so it is a big thing, social media. But it's important that the club and Rotary are seen out in the community doing this sort of thing. Otherwise, we would not get sponsors like Halliwell Property Agents, and then this year it was so successful that Anderson Heat Pumps have come on board and said, hey, we want to be involved in this as well. We really do love to get the advocate on board prior to the event, during the event, and in the past they have been enormous in telling the public what the event has done. We raise on average gross probably $20,000 just by selling teddy bears, food, drinks, stalls on the day, and it's a free event. The public can come along and it costs them nothing. So if they just want to come along and fly a kite and just watch these bears come down, they're welcome to.
Hi, I'm Ryan Jones, the past president of the Rotary Club of Sorell. Sorell is based in the southeast of Tasmania, where we have a strong 27 members within our club, with a strong network of family and friends connected to our club. As our community continues to grow, we work closely with our local council as well as community groups. We focus on community and being very active and seen within the community. In my year, we work closely with council with partnerships towards projects as well as individual projects supported by the club. To help raise money for the community and for Rotary, we have two main fundraisers that we carry through the year. We've got our Broom Creek Show barbecue. We've been part of the Broom Creek Show for many, many years, and it's become one of our main fundraisers. A new and upcoming fundraiser that we've been starting over the last few years is the sheep manure drives that we collect from local shearing sheds and then sell through our local Clennett's Mitre 10 store in Sorell. It's a great way to raise money and work with other community groups. One of our main projects that we work on throughout the year is our bus shelters that we work with Sorell Council to install across the Sorell municipality. They're blue and they've got Rotary branding on them so that the community can see that Rotary has been part of installing these important bus shelters so that kids can catch the bus or wait for the bus out of the weather, but it's also getting our brand out within the community. They're spotted across the whole of the municipality, and we continue to work with council to get more and more out there across the community, and it's a good partnership with the council that we have. As part of our networking and communicating to the community, with the hard work of one of our members, Graham Holt, we've been able to get our some regular stories into the local Sorell Times newspaper, which goes right across the southeast and east coast of Tassie, promoting our club and who we are and where we are and what we do for the community. So it's been great to be able to be part of that newspaper, and we hope that we can continue to build a relationship with the Sorell Times to help spread our name and also, potentially strike some interest for potential members into the future. So with all the influence and the publicity that we've been working on hard over the last 12 months, in particular in my year, to promote the club within the community, we have inducted 5 new members in my year, and also this coming year we'll have potentially more members in the pipeline, which is a strong indication that that we're obviously being seen and our brand's been seen within the community, and it's also a reminder that we need to continue to work hard to focus on our membership, to be an active club, and to be there for the community.
Thanks, Ryan. And before Ryan, you heard from Tony. Both Tony and Ryan emphasised the importance of establishing close partnerships with your papers and the television channels, as well as sponsors. Ryan told you how it was his priority to keep the whole club active and give them plenty to be going on with. He emphasised letting people be themselves in the choice of service as they contributed to their club using their skills and talents. This fits in so well with the messages we've been hearing in Rotary recently about the care and comfort of our members. Now I'd like to call on District Governor Mike Patton to have the final word. He too has been a membership champion and is a leader we in 9830 hold in very high regard.
As Rotarians, we should be proud that we're people of influence in our own communities, in our zone and overseas. We each have influence as individuals, but together as Rotarians, our reach and impact is much greater. Rotarians and friends of Rotary include a wide range of leaders from business, government, the professions, the arts, religion, and the military, to name but a few. Many of these people were helped to develop their leadership as Rotarians or through Rotary programs. They continue to work with us because they value what we can achieve together. Today you have heard stories from a variety of people, some Rotarians and others not, who have shared their perspective on points we can bear in mind when we put together public image plans for our clubs and districts. From past District Governor Jennifer Scott, you heard about the meaning of the phrase people of influence. We really appreciate her Rotary perspective. It is also valuable to hear some of the impressions of community leaders outside of Rotary, and we appreciate that they have taken the time from their busy lives to share their stories in order to help grow our impact on Rotary. We have also heard stories of change from within Rotary clubs where people of influence work to grow our clubs. Before people can be inspired to participate in our wonderful Rotary programs, we need to ensure that all those around us feel welcomed, respected and valued. Rotary also needs to be fun. This is the responsibility of every Rotarian. Each of us brings to our clubs a set of personal skills and experiences. Rotary unites us by a set of core values that guide our decisions and galvanise us to take action, and by doing so we can change the world. Thank you all for the contribution that you each make. I'll finish with a quote from environmentalist and author Jane Goodall. You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make.
Thanks to you, Mike, for summarising. The reach and impact of Rotary's work are a testament to Rotary members' leadership, passion and drive to help others. Thank you. Now back to you, past District Governor Sarita, and let's hear if anyone has any comments or question before we go our separate ways. Goodbye everybody. Thanks for logging on.